Hello, everyone. This is episode 14 of the podcast CrossWorld Puzzles. Today, I'm so happy to welcome my friend, Miss Gigi Modrich. I met Gigi in college. We were roommates during our first year. I learned that she's Native American on her mother's side. She was always so kind and friendly and always looked out for me and took care of me when I was feeling lonely. So, as someone who always worries about others and takes great care of others around her, it's no surprise that she became a lawyer protecting the rights of Indigenous people. But in recent years, she's also developed a new career in comedy, often drawing upon her native heritage. And I'm really fascinated by how she's balancing these two realms that seem so different. So today I'm really excited to ask about her identity as a Native American, her work as a lawyer, and her thoughts on comedy. So thank you so much, Gigi, for joining me today.
Thank you, Shioi, for having me. It's so good to connect with you again after all these years.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so grateful for you to for saying yes, even though I've been out of touch for so long. Thank you again. And first, may I ask you about your beautiful outfit, if that's okay?
Yes, thank you. I wanted to wear something that was from a native creator. So this is a Jay Okuma. She is a fashion designer from the La Jolla Band of Indians here in California. So I wanted to make sure I wore something that was from a native fashion designer. There's so many now, thankfully, that are able to sell to anyone who's willing to purchase.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this particular piece, I think we talked about, it has dentilium on it, which was a form of currency and a wealth indicator in native cultures, and it has other shells and imagery on it. So it's a nice piece. So I appreciate being able to wear it for you.
Oh, thank you so much for that. And I love that how it's with someone from California. So you're now based in LA, but I understand when we first met that you were from New Mexico. So may I ask where you were born and raised?
Oh, yes, that's a great question. I tell everyone I'm from New Mexico because my mother is Jicarilla Apache, and our reservation is in northern New Mexico in Dulce. However, my father, he is Croatian ethnicity, and he was in the Air Force. So I was actually born in Michigan, raised a good part of my life in Ohio, and it wasn't until high school that I actually sent myself to a boarding school in New Mexico to just, one, get out of Ohio, and two, get closer to my tribe and my homelands.
Okay, great. So would you say that growing up you already had like a really strong Native American identity?
Yes. So my mother, she's full-blooded Native American. We have three separate tribes in us. The tribe we are closest to and the tribe that we visit our homelands is the Jicarilla Apache Nation. And
Okay,
so,
great. Hmm.
so being a child raised by my mother, who's Native, with my father, he was in active duty when I was a kid. So I didn't really get connected, and I still have never ever really connected with my Croatian background. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't speak the language. I don't speak the language on my native side for other reasons, but
Mm-hmm.
for Croatia, I've never been to my homelands there. I don't really enjoy the food.
Oh.
Um, so it's always been a very strong identification with my
Hmm.
native heritage.
Hmm. Hmm. That is wonderful. Am I correct that while you were growing up, there were others around you who had, I guess, like a similar identity? You had relatives on your mother's side and maybe some other friends that you could relate to?
So in my attempt to tell people I'm from New Mexico, I did spend a lot of my formative years in Ohio.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And Ohio is not the most diverse, or at least the town I was in was not
Mm.
the most diverse place. So there was only one other family, and they were a Cherokee that
Mm.
that had any kind of ancestry, Native American ancestry or descent.
Mm.
It was pretty lonely, and I think because the Cherokees and the Apaches were so different,
Mm-hmm.
there wasn't a lot of um, there wasn't a lot of camaraderie between the two of us,
Oh,
unfortunately.
okay. That makes a lot of sense. And about how many people are in the Hickory Apache tribe?
Oh my gosh, when I was general counsel for my nation, I think we were about at 3,500, and that was years ago that I last looked at a population chart for my tribe. And that's 3,500 enrolled folks.
Mm.
In the United States, every tribal nation gets to pick or gets to, it has sovereignty, and so it gets to identify the criteria for membership and eligibility to be an enrolled member of that tribe for federally recognized tribes. And I'm sure state recognized tribes have their own criteria as well. And there's a difference between being enrolled in your tribe and being
Mm-hmm.
a descendant. And
Okay.
there's also other indicators too. You could have been enrolled in your tribe at one point, and then the tribe has decided to disenroll you or your family, and so then you would no longer be a member of that tribe. So I am a descendant of the Hickory Apache Nation, just due to history. Our rolls were done in 1936, I believe,
Mm.
and so that's a role that you would have for citizenship purposes if you were present on whichever reservation or area that the federal government put you at that time. Your name was written down and you were counted, and that's the role from which folks operated. And it was my great great grandmother was not present
Oh, wow.
at the time. She had been kidnapped and
Oh my God.
taken into Mexico, and so we, my family's not enrolled. But
Okay.
luckily, because enrollment in blood quantum is a federal construct that is designed to mathematically eliminate Indians, luckily, folks on my tribe recognize my family, and we are welcome and included in ceremony.
Oh my goodness. You mentioned blood quantum. Does that mean the percentage of blood that's native? Is that something that's quantified?
Yes.
I
And
see.
so every nation, again, I am pro tribal sovereignty, pro tribes having this ability to create their criteria for citizenship, and every nation can select how they identify members. And so for my nation, I've seen a few different blood quantum scenarios. I don't know if one was ever ratified,
Mm.
but it's a quarter Indian blood, Jicarilla Apache Indian blood to be a member, a citizen. For other nations, there might be blood quantums that are higher, up to maybe a half. There are nations who do lineal descent, so as long as you have someone who is on those 1930s rolls that was a member of your family, you are eligible for citizenship.
I
So,
see.
so everyone does it a little differently,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
as is their right. It is hard to be culturally and ethnically an Indian while not being a citizen.
Right, right. That's incredible, and it seems so unfair. Of course, it's everything is terribly unfair, of course, like,
Yeah.
but especially the fact that it's all based on something that happened almost 100 years ago, like, and someone who happened to be present or not really
Hmm.
decides the rest of the family, even now, that's crazy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's definitely an interesting part of federal Indian policy. And I often look at federal Indian policy and I wonder, was there a mastermind thinking about the repercussions and where we would land today?
Mm.
Or was it all people shooting from the hip and making stuff up, which I'm going to say it was probably that.
Yeah.
And then we just still see these very disastrous, almost
Yeah.
like evil genius
Mhm.
outcomes
Right. Oh my
for
goodness.
people today. Yeah, so it's
Mhm.
it's really interesting, actually.
Mhm. Hmm. And before we go further, I'm sorry, I'm going to ask some really, really basic questions about vocabulary and terminology. So, you mentioned nation, and is that the word that's used for federally or state recognized places? And how is that different from the word tribe? Would you mind clarifying that?
Sure. So every the way tribal nations are described in the United States from a legal standpoint is that they are sovereign nations within the U.S. So we have these domestic dependent sovereign nations within the United States, and they should be, I think, they should be on their own uh, platform and given the same deference as other countries. Uh, so if you were talking to the Jicarilla Apache Nation, it'd be the same thing as talking to the Republic of Ireland. Like it'd be elevated in
Mm,
my opinion, and also legally. Um, so we use the word nation now to talk about specifically federally recognized tribes,
mm,
and also tribes have incorporated my tribe used to be the Jicarilla Apache tribe.
hmm.
And a few decades ago, we changed our name to the Jicarilla Apache Nation. So you'll see this terminology and this vernacular used and changing as we see other words used in society. So I think we were going to talk about this like back in the 90s. Native Americans were called American Indians, and I think
Hmm.
then in the 2000s it became Native American.
Hmm.
And you'll still hear people say the word Indian. I use Indian. I love the word Indian.
Mm.
I'm a lawyer. I practice federal Indian law. That is what it is called to this day because Title 25 of the US Code, if you look at the binding, it says Indians. And if you look
Mm.
at Title 25 of the Code of Federal Regulations, it says Indians. So I'm an Indian. Legally, I'm an Indian.
I see.
So legally, I use the word Indian. I also love the discomfort that it creates for folks
Yes.
because they have to sit with this person, me, saying the word Indian, and they go through their mind wondering, is she using the right word?
Right.
Is she allowed to use the word?
Hmm.
Um, and I like people to confront the history and the reason why we have the word Indian, as
Hmm.
opposed to try to figure out how to be more comfortable right now in this moment.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for clarifying that. I was totally going to ask you about the word Indian as well, because when I was growing up, you were, I think, taught that the word Indian is discriminatory and we should say Native American. But now it immediately makes sense, hearing it from a lawyer too, that that's how it's written in law and it's a
Hmm.
legal word.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's so interesting.
So even laws today that are introduced, you'll see the word Indian
Hmm.
used. If you look at stuff on congress.gov, any kind of bill introduced, if it deals with Indians, it'll have that word. So
Okay.
so I don't think of it as a dirty word. I think it's a generational thing too. My mom will probably say call her uh, American Indian.
Okay. Okay. So for outsiders, it's safer to say Native American, or which
The
would be better?
safest thing
Uh,
you know me, and so you
mm,
know I'm from the Hickory Apache Nation.
mm,
And so what you would do if you introduced me, you're like, this is my friend Gigi. She's Hickory Apache.
okay.
So the safest thing is to find out who you're talking to and then say, this is my friend from the Navajo Nation. But if they prefer, the Navajo word for themselves is Dene. And so they might say, please say I'm from the Dene Nation.
Okay.
So it gets very complicated.
No, thank you so much for being so patient with me. I understand that I really need to rethink my vocabulary as well as really learn a lot more. Thank you
Oh,
for
yeah.
that.
You're great, though. You're doing great.
Thank you so much. Now I wanted to talk about our alma mater, Dartmouth,
Oh,
and
that's
I am so thrilled that I got to be a roommate with you. So Dartmouth, of course, has a Native American Studies major, and there's so many, I think, compared to other colleges, like peer colleges, it has a higher Native American population. So I assume that you got to meet. I remember your friend Cody, like a lot of other Native students. So how was that? Was that reaffirming and comforting to be able to meet someone who's
yeah,
similar but also very different because the tribes and nations are very different?
yeah. So, um, being at Dartmouth, I did go to Dartmouth mostly because my guidance counselor at my boarding school was like, "You'd do great there," and it
Hmm.
was started for the education of Native Americans, so you should go. Being at Dartmouth was the first time I got to be surrounded by more than one other Native American in school.
Hmm.
Because even at my boarding school, there was just one other guy who was from Taos Pueblo, lovely man. Um, but yeah, I got to meet all these people from all of these different nations and different
Hmm.
states, and everyone does have a different, like all the cultures are different, the languages are different. Um, but it was a really cool environment to be in. And you'd mentioned Cody. She ended up, well, she was right next door to us in our dormitory. So it was so cool. She's Seminole and Oto, and
Hmm.
she's this gorgeous Miss
Yeah.
Indian World
Hmm.
winner, and she saw me and never questioned like if I was Indian enough to
Yeah.
be included in her like crew. And
Hmm.
I've been so grateful for the friendships that I made at Dartmouth with the Native women that were there. There were a bunch of Navajo women who were so kind. Cody taught me to fancy dance, and that was something I always wanted to do. Um,
Sorry, what is fancy dance?
oh, fancy dancing! It's a type of powwow dancing
Okay.
that the women, we wear shawls and we hold them
Oh, I
out with your
see.
arms outstretched,
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I've seen that. Okay,
and
gotcha.
yeah. So
That's great.
she actually, there's a pan Indian culture as well in
Hmm.
America, and I think we're going to see that mostly here in Los Angeles. We have the largest population of Native Americans in the country is here in LA.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So, but it's everyone. It's such a melting pot
Hmm.
of every Indian culture. So I teach beadwork here in LA as
Oh,
well
wow.
because I got to learn during the pandemic and I want to
Hmm.
pass on the knowledge.
Hmm. Hmm. Oh, that's great.
So yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm sorry. Getting back, like yeah, being around the native kids at Dartmouth was a huge blessing.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, thank you. And speaking of Dartmouth, I wanted to ask about how Dartmouth seems to have changed its branding over the years.
Yeah.
And I remember the school logo was so interesting when I enrolled, and you probably recall this, but it seemed to have depict two Native American individuals walking in the woods, and there's like this light shining from the book up above, and it just seemed so I don't know, like kind of looking down upon the native population. And then the logo changed in 2018, and now it's just the letter D with a tree. And it's
Mhm.
very simple and modern, and yet there's a lot of history lost there. So there's quite a fine line between showing history, but also, um, I don't know, trying to make things right. Because I think now on the website, at least I couldn't find immediately the school's founding, the fact that it was founded to be like an educational institution for Native Americans, probably because now when we look at it in a modern light, it looks like forced assimilation. Yeah, what do you think about that? How do you depict history in a way that's not offensive, but also accurate and making sure that legacy of Native American history is not lost?
Yeah. That's a tough question. And I'm really glad that you sent me the new logo. I had no idea they rebranded in 2018. I actually really liked the old seal.
Oh, okay.
Like
Really?
the truth. And I think it was because there we were. We were right there. I love the Vox Clematis and Desierto, the cry in the wilderness. I loved it all. We there we were in front of the doors of an Ivy League institution
Mm,
that predates the establishment of this country.
hmm.
So I liked it. I never really noticed that they were naked until you pointed that out. And I was like, oh, I guess I assumed they were wearing a onesie or something. I don't know.
Maybe they are. I don't know. Maybe
Who
it's just
knows?
simplified, but
Who knows? But so I didn't really view it as paternalism or condescension,
oh,
although
really?
everything
Okay.
can go back to paternalism probably in this country. But
Right.
I didn't. I see it now. I do
Okay.
see it now. Um, but you ask a really interesting question on like how can we balance history and I guess entering the modern day. And I'm not sure I am the person to be able to answer that. I do think it's important that we do acknowledge that Dartmouth thrived off the backs of Indians
Mm,
because the only reason the money was raised to found the institution is because there was, I think, a two-man roadshow going around asking for money, saying, "Look, we're going to educate some Indians. Would you like to donate to that?" And people were like, "Oh God, yes, please, save
oh God.
save them." And
Oh
there was
no.
nothing of that. And then as soon as Dartmouth got all the money to
Mm.
start, they abandoned the mission to educate Native Americans. So it wasn't until President Kennedy came around for Dartmouth that I think it was in the 70s that he recommitted the institution to the
Mm.
education of Native Americans. Um, so it's sad. I think it's sad that there's no indication on the website that you're welcome, rest of America, for Dartmouth.
Right.
Our existence got the money for this beautiful institution.
Hmm.
So that's really sad. That is sad. I think there does need to be some kind of acknowledgement. Um,
Mm. That is so interesting. Thank you so much. I didn't realize the details of the school history, and I'm just learning so much. Okay, so wait, after graduation, you went to law school, and then you worked as a lawyer and an attorney in DC. And I remember this one moment when you were telling me that you'd always wanted to be a lawyer, and I was so struck by that because I was clueless. I barely had a major, so I had so much respect for you. But when did you decide that you wanted to become a lawyer? And was there like a specific incident, or were there? I'm sure there are a lot of cases when Indigenous people were treated unfairly legally, and was there a specific motivation for that?
yeah. So my timing wise, I decided to become a lawyer when I was 10 years old, and
Wow.
I just remember that being a decision point. And there were two reasons, and they're not great, but one reason I was 10. Um, because I was Native and I was in this predominantly white community,
Mm,
um, I I was often treated less than.
mm,
We were made fun of a lot just because what was being taught in that community was that natives were extinct like dinosaurs.
wow.
Like there weren't any more Indians. And so I was confused because we were here and there's my mom, at my house and I didn't understand that. So there was a lot of I would hear a lot of like you're not as smart as these other kids because you're Indian or like you're not
What?
going to do as well in life because you're Indian. And it
Wow.
was really frustrating. It was incredibly frustrating. And so there was just this assumption that I was dumb. And I went through this process of like, all right, what profession do people have where people just assume without even meeting them, they just assume that person is smart? And I
That's
ended
so
up on
interesting.
attorney, and I thought, okay, I'm going to be an attorney because I'm tired of people assuming I'm stupid
Uh-huh.
because I'm Indian.
Right.
I'm not stupid. So, but I didn't want to even have to prove it. I wanted
Mm-hmm.
it to be a title. That's part of the reason I went to Dartmouth as well,
Mm-hmm.
is because I still was battling. Please just have people assume I'm smart
Right.
when they meet me. So that was one of the reasons. The other reason is I want to be rich. Um,
Okay.
and I thought attorneys were rich. And I don't know if you can tell by my two-bedroom apartment that I'm renting
Mm.
in LA with my broken coaster and maybe like my hair scrunchies from 1980. Lawyers aren't rich, guys. They're not rich. We don't make money.
Well, it depends on the field, right?
Actually, it
But
does. Okay, so lawyers who defend Native American rights
oh
typically
man.
don't charge as much
Oh,
as lawyers who do mergers and acquisitions. So it's fine. But it's
but you're
fine.
doing the right thing. You're fighting for
I have
justice.
my soul still. So
Yeah. My gosh.
so yeah, so it was I wanted people to think I was smart. I wanted to be rich. I've gotten one of those things.
Yes. So, would it be okay if I ask you if you have any cases that you're particularly proud of in terms of, um, yeah, working with the native population?
I've done so much in the 17 years that I've been an attorney. When I was in private practice, I did work as a general counsel for my tribe and for dozens of other tribes. And this was back in 2008, um, when Congress was still taking appropriations requests. They've recently started taking appropriations requests again, but there was a long period of time where constituents could not apply to their congressmen for appropriations requests. So
Hmm.
for any funding, but at the beginning of my career, I was able to fill out the forms for various congressmen and senators and ask for funds. So through those efforts and working with my clients, we were able to secure I've helped secure millions of dollars for
Wow.
Indian country.
Okay.
Some for suicide prevention facilities, some for water facilities, so that's water delivery, water purification, some for schools. I worked with agencies to get funding for medical buildings,
Mm.
whether it's a joint venture between the tribes and the federal government, or whether it's just a tribal institution trying to find funds for that. So I think what I'm most proud of is finding money for Indian country.
Hmm. Hmm. And thank you so much. That is incredible. In terms of funding, is the amount allocated or the difficulty of applying, does that differ from administration to administration?
Every administration can put its own stamp on
Mm.
processes and procedures and even availability. I think that, some administrations might even pull back funding altogether.
Wow.
So, so it can differ, and I have seen it differ, and it depends. Yeah, it just depends on the administration. But some folks, I've seen the pendulum swing to making sure that tribes with very little resources and very
Hmm.
little funding still have a chance at receiving discretionary dollars,
Hmm.
all the way to you have to have a professional grant writer in order to be in competition for these dollars, which a lot of tribes may not have the ability to hire a
Right.
professional grant writer.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
Hmm.
And I also wanted to ask about your segue into comedy. So, Uh, am I correct in understanding that you first, I don't know, really started to enjoy comedy when you were doing stand-up comedy with DC Improv while you're here in DC? And
Yes.
okay, and so would you mind talking a little bit about that journey?
Sure, sure. So in high school, while I was at my boarding school, I decided, or I had the thought that I would like to be a comedian. And so I told my parents that, and they were very scared for me
Oh,
because they didn't know how I would make money if I were a comedian.
mhm, mhm,
And so I went the law route, of course. Um, but I had I had been married to a man while I was a lawyer at the private law firm, and I told him, I think I want to be a comedian. And he
mm.
said, No, you're not funny. And so
What?
I held
Oh my
that with
God.
me. I held it,
Yeah,
Shiori.
that's
I held on to
terrible.
it. And
Oh my
so,
God. Yeah.
so luckily, he divorced me, which gave
Oh,
me all of this space and
oh
room
God.
to pursue comedy. And I went for it. So in 2016, I took
Wow.
a class at the
Mm,
DC Improv.
mm,
It was called 5 Minutes to Funny. And
mm,
basically, you met for like 4 or 5 weeks for
mm,
3 hours with
mm,
12 other students. And you came with what you thought was a 5 minute routine,
mm,
and you just performed it, and you got feedback in real
mm.
time. Oh, that wasn't funny. That was funny, but I don't know how you got from A to B. Can you walk
Uh,
the audience
okay.
through this so that the audience can also laugh?
Mm.
Um, so we went through that process, and then I performed. I think it was like it was such a rebirth.
That's awesome.
I think my first performance was April 27th of 2016,
Okay.
the DC Improv stage, and
Wow, that's
so
great.
I knew I gotta find a piece of paper though. So I was on stage
Hmm.
and I had my notes with me,
Hmm.
and it was
Oh no. Oh, Gigi.
the whole time. But I knew
Oh,
I was like, no, this is gonna be my job. I'm gonna make this my job.
that's wonderful.
So as terrifying as it was,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So right now I understand you work during the day as an attorney and then at night you perform, which is amazing.
yes,
But you're kind of trying to segue into comedy full time then?
yes. The goal is, so I'm still trying to be rich, Shiori.
Oh gosh, okay.
I don't know, but with the money. Like I have a rich life, and I have a rich
Yeah, okay, I got
every like
you.
I'm rich with family and friends, but money would also be nice. So I am trying to figure out the LA
Mhm,
comedy scene. I've only been here for about a year, and it's big. It's a big scene. Um, I am trying to find my voice
mm,
here in Los Angeles. I had a really great routine and set in DC, and I was
mhm,
getting booked, and
mhm.
I was actually making money doing comedy
That's
in
wonderful.
DC. And once you move to a new city, you got to figure it all out again. So, but this is the city to do it in.
Mhm,
So
mhm. So did you move for comedy or for the native population or for both?
I moved for comedy.
Okay. Oh, okay.
The native population was just a bonus.
Got you.
In fact, I was really scared actually to move here because I just found I felt like I just found my Indian community in
Mm, yeah.
DC. I was going to
Mhm,
powwows there. I was meeting up with people.
mhm.
Like things were actually happening for the Indian community in DC
Right.
finally.
Uh-huh.
And I was so scared to come here.
But it
Um,
was worth it, I'm sure. Yeah.
it was worth it, and I immediately found this organization called the Chapter House out here,
Mhm.
which is a celebration of Native joy for artists, and
Mm.
that's where I teach. Beading
Oh.
is at the Chapter House.
Mhm, mhm. That's wonderful. And while I was getting ready to interview you, I realized that you've been doing a lot of interviews with other Native comedians and been talking about this community. And I'm really embarrassed to say that I didn't know there were so many Native comedians, which is
No,
just so
right?
wonderful. Yeah, right. Okay, I'm glad you agree.
No, yeah, we're coming out the woodwork here. I there there are a few things that the pandemic helped cultivate.
Mm,
Um, so not I'm not saying it was a good thing, but
mhm,
one of the things that did help cultivate was an online scene for Native comedians, and it helped connect us. And we are doing very well with our tribal values, and
mhm,
it's different from other comedy scenes because other comedy scenes, I feel like people are looking who they can step on to get
mm.
up. And I
Interesting.
feel the native comedy scene, not to do a magical Indian or mystical Indian thing, but I do feel like the native comedy scene just has better people and
Mhm,
they figure out how to pull you up with them.
mhm,
And
mhm,
so I really appreciate that. So a lot of my bigger breaks here in LA have been because of native comedians and black comedians. So
mm,
that's been very um, warming to have out here.
mhm,
Because
mhm.
a lot of people will tell you LA is cold and cruel and it's who you know. And while I'm sure that people have that lived experience, luckily I have such a rose colored glasses on still and
Mhm,
glass half full and a bunch of folks out here helping me.
mhm, mhm. I think that's one of your biggest strengths. So you're always so, yeah, kind and helpful and always community oriented. So that's why I was surprised to hear that you mentioned that as a child it was a little bit lonely and there weren't many people around you like you. But it's so wonderful that it sounds like you really found your home and your community now
Yes.
in both LA and DC, which is wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, One thing I wanted to ask about comedy is, so you mentioned that in the beginning you were shaking and it was just quite nervous. And already so many people have stage fright, but also if you don't get laughs when you wanted to get laughs, that's also really, really difficult. So yeah, like what do you do? How do you not get nervous? And if there are any jokes that the audience didn't get and you didn't quite get the reaction that you're hoping for, how do you move on?
It's a good question. So, as far as how do you not get nervous, I think it really depends on the show. There are some shows
Okay.
I do that I can go in, do my set, come out, we're fine.
Okay.
Um, the nerves tend to rack up if the minutes rack up. So, if I
Mm,
were asked to perform for 45 minutes, I would be nervous.
okay.
30 minutes, maybe a little nervous. I can do it. I've done that before. I
Mhm.
haven't done 45 yet. It also depends on who's in the audience. So, being here in LA, if there's the booker from the Comedy Store or from the Hollywood Improv or Laugh Factory, some of these bigger clubs, if I know that those bookers are in the audience, somehow I manage to mess up my set because I'm so nervous. So I'm still working on figuring out how to be cool all the
Mhm.
time. As far as when you deliver what you think is a brilliant joke to an audience who does not want that joke,
Mm,
what I found is the best thing to do, and maybe this is also a thing in life as well. The best thing to do is immediately acknowledge that nobody's having a good time. Like,
okay.
you didn't like this. I
Mhm.
don't like what's happening now.
Mhm.
Let's move on. And, I think having the ability to do that instead of some comedians will pivot into what I think is hate. They'll start
Oh,
blaming the
wow.
audience and just be like,
Mhm.
you guys are a bad audience and
Mhm.
you don't know, you're stupid or you're dumb or you don't get it or I'm too edgy for you. And like that, that is not my strategy. My
Mhm.
strategy is just, oh, that was a little dark for you guys.
Okay.
Sorry, like
Mm-hmm,
or
mm-hmm,
oh that yeah. So those are my strategies, but
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
hopefully I'll one day not get nervous in front of the right people.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. No, that's wonderful. And I also wanted to ask about what's going on in the news a little bit. So now we have a lot of censorship in the comedy and talk show realm. And I was wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing how the comedy community is contending with this issue and how do you ever like play it safe and still feel genuine? Like how do you walk that fine line when you
Mhm.
try not to offend others but also try to be funny?
Yeah, no, those are great questions. As far as a reaction to Colbert and Kimmel, what I've seen in the comedy community here in LA at least are folks, it always comes down to petitions, right? Folks
Mm-hmm,
circulating petitions that you can add your name to,
mm-hmm,
denouncing the cancellation of these shows. But I've also seen folks write, their own messages about censorship and the importance of comedy as an art form
mm,
for just people in general. Like I
yeah.
think every I feel like every country, and this includes Indian country, has their own sense of humor and their own
Mm-hmm,
kind of inside jokes and our own like little hat tips to each other of like we shared this experience together. This is how I'm communicating to you through humor that we have this shared experience and we can
mm-hmm,
laugh together. And if we can laugh together, we can be together. So seeing folks put out their own statements or put up their own petitions, that's the tangible thing that comedians are doing. I think the more performative and more impactful thing is comedians are still performing, and
mm-hmm,
and we are still discussing the topics that we want to discuss in the manner which we want to discuss them. We're still exercising our First Amendment for our comedy, and I think that it would be disingenuous for comedians to have to put a finger on the pulse
mm-hmm.
of censorship or before performing. We'd lose a lot of art that way. You
Right,
can't have good art
right.
if you try to confine the artists.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
First of all, they all mostly have ADHD and are like we're just can't
Really?
we can't like stay on track for anything.
Oh.
But but so that's hard to contain folks who are
Mm-hmm.
uncontrollable, literally.
Okay. Yeah, and I was really struck by what you said about laughing together because laughter really helps bring people together. And right now, there's so much anger in this country. It's become so divisive. And yeah, I was wondering how can we find humor together in this really sometimes quite depressing and chaotic age? Like, how do we find humor in our day-to-day lives? If you have any, I'm sorry, this is a really vague question, but if you have any tips, that'd be great.
No, so I've been thinking about this a lot, like as far as like how do we support each other,
Hmm.
period, like as community members. And I know I'm trying to check in on my neighbors and make sure
Hmm.
folks have what they need, whether it's groceries or a ride to the dentist or just someone to listen to them for 5 minutes or sometimes 30 minutes
Yeah.
to just hear them. And so I think that's where comedy also comes into play is it's a vehicle. It doesn't have to be topical or
Hmm.
newsworthy or about the news in
Hmm.
order to create a safe space for
Hmm.
people to be together, to exist together. I don't know if you've ever been to a comedy show There's a surprising number of people who haven't. I always meet somebody at a show that's like, "This is my first show." I'm like, "How?
Oh,
This is my
like,
1,000th show." But
yeah, I've been to a few, yeah.
so I don't
Mhm,
know. So the it depends on what venue you're at, but like
mhm,
usually if you go to a club, the ceilings are low, it's very dark, and
mhm.
it's in a basement.
Yes.
And psychologically, that is designed to be like a womb so that
Interesting.
you feel safe and
Wow.
comfortable. And so
Okay.
you can laugh at whatever you want to laugh because
Uh-huh.
nobody can see you, nobody can judge you
Yeah.
for laughing at whatever joke it was.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, no one's taking photos of you. It's just very safe. So I feel like using comedy to create those safe spaces for people. And then if you do look over, you're laughing at something, you see someone else, you have that immediate connection of like, we
Mm.
have
Mhm.
this shared experience, or we have this shared idea that this thing is funny, and you can make friends that way. So I
Right.
think comedy may not be like the leading tool in the revolution to create community and to make people stronger together, but I think it is a tool.
Mhm. Mhm. No, absolutely. Thank you so much for that explanation. I didn't realize that it was a metaphor for a womb. Yeah, I think stereotypically, I always think of this brick wall and this like really harsh one spotlight like facing towards the comedian. That's so interesting.
You didn't have a spotlight in the womb?
No. Well, I don't know. I don't recall, but I don't think so. That'd be so funny. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I have so much respect for you for doing both, like being a lawyer. I mean, I'm sure that's already so busy as a full-time job, but you're also um, yeah, creating this community among your audience members as well as your peer comedians. And I think that's so powerful what you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. And I was wondering if you have any advice for people who might be struggling with their identity. This could be people who are growing up and trying to figure out their careers, or people who decide that they want to have a second career or like transitioning into a different career. Would you have any words of advice for them?
Sure. I think my advice is find your people. Find find folks who have maybe similar struggles or who are open to hearing your story, because it is very cathartic to talk about what you are going through. I just had a call I think 2 weeks ago with one of my best friends. She lives in Florida, and somehow it just turned into me just like in tears about
Mm.
blood quantum. It was just really like,
Oh,
because I struggle with my Indian identity, even though I
right.
only identify as Native.
Mm.
It's because having this piece of paper from the federal government, and then having this enrollment card from my tribe, I can never have those things. And so um, talking to other folks about that is helpful, because um, it's not. I think outside of Indian country, a lot of folks don't understand the legal complexities of Native citizenship.
Right.
So, just being able to talk to someone, whether they're in the community or outside of the community that you're struggling with, I think helps a lot. As far as pivoting careers, um, I think it's you probably know this. Maybe it's kind of like a follow your heart,
Mm.
because I remember thinking, it was just a few months ago, I started to think everything that I have in my life today that I'm most proud of are not any of the things 18-year-old Gigi would have thought she would have been proud of. So 18-year-old Gigi would have liked one husband, two kids, two cars, a house, and to be a partner in a law firm. Those were all my goals. And of those goals, I have a husband and we share a car, and that is great. It works out for us. Uh,
Mm.
but that's not what I'm proud. Like I'm glad I didn't get those things, because what I love about me now, and this is the follow your heart on your career, on
Mm-hmm.
your pastimes, on how you spend your life, your time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love being a comedian. I love second husband. I love my used dog. I
Mm-hmm.
love I play roller derby. I love doing that. And those I love my makeup. Like I these are things
Mm-hmm.
that I would have never thought I'd love doing, but I just decided to let my inner child direct my second act.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's so so wonderful, and I also think your parents were also wise to say comedy is great, but also try to pursue something else for now.
You are so
um,
right.
because it's important to follow your heart, but I think there are ways to follow your heart by keeping it inside, but focusing on something else that gives you the means to follow your
Yes.
heart. And I think you're doing that in such a beautiful, beautiful way.
Thank you. No, you're absolutely right. We wanted to move to LA since 2017,
Mm,
and I wasn't going to do it unless I could find a lawyer job that I could do while here,
mm,
because
I see.
I was not going to be a starving artist.
Right,
Just
right.
artist is fine.
Right.
Um,
And I also wanted to ask about something that you've been alluding to, and I'm so curious. Hopefully, this is not too personal. But you mentioned in one of the interviews you've done that you had, what was it, three engagements and two marriages, one divorce, and zero regrets, which
yes.
I think is a wonderful, wonderful phrase. Um, please teach me your ways because I would love to have even one husband. I think you're amazing. So yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. You mentioned how your first husband, like, he was so, I don't know, like cold and not understanding your career that he actually told you out flat that you're not funny, which is so so mean. I just can't comprehend it. That's definitely grounds for divorce for sure. Um, but you seem so happy now. So, how, yeah, like in your journey to find someone that you really clicked with, did it make sense to find like comedy first? And is that how you met him? Or like, how do these different journeys of your career, following your heart, and then also meeting like someone you really click with, like how do they intertwine, if that makes sense?
Yep. No, it all makes sense. So I guess if we went chronologically, I went into big law and I became a lawyer, and then my first marriage failed, thankfully, and that gave me space and time to pursue comedy. I started to go to open mics, and I saw this gorgeous man with
Mm.
beautiful hair. Um, his hair is so nice.
Okay.
It's still in the notes in my phone when I took his number finally. It was like
Oh,
great
that's
hair,
so
and
nice.
so
Oh.
and he was funny and he was kind,
Mm.
and um, it's amazing when you're a woman in comedy, you are maybe of 1 to 3 women in the room
Oh wow.
doing comedy.
Mm.
And so there was, I'm not saying like I'm like hot stuff, but like there was a lot of interest in me
Mm.
while
Mm.
I was getting my divorce. And
Mm.
I
Mm.
wasn't in the space to receive that interest.
Mm. I see.
And so this gentleman waited until I was divorced and
Mm.
ready to talk to approach me. And we'd met at an open mic. We'd known each other for about a year.
Okay.
And so finally, I did a set about being divorced, because apparently I was divorced for like 2 weeks. I didn't even know because I didn't check my mail. And so,
Well,
so
that's crazy.
it was. I was like, I wish I'd known about this earlier.
It,
So,
so it can be that one-sided? I didn't realize. I thought it was like a mutual
yes.
consent type thing.
No, no, no.
Oh,
It was, I definitely got stuff in the mail. So
what?
it's fine. It worked
Okay,
out. So
great.
I did a set on stage at the open mic that I met my husband at, and he just came up to me afterwards. He was so sweet. He was just like,
Hmm.
"Look, I know we don't know each other very well, Um, everything, I feel like everything you say on stage is true. I got out of a long-term relationship, and he's like, so if
Mm-hmm.
you ever just want to talk, just let me know. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I definitely want to talk.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely want to talk. Um, so yeah, so we start to do comedy together. Uh, we do a lot of shows together. Um, and I think my second husband energy, all you people out there for husbands, second husband energy should be kind. They're
Okay.
kind. They
Mm-hmm.
they're kind to you. They make you feel good. Um, I cannot think of a foul word. I've been with Eric for
Mm-hmm.
8 years now.
Mm-hmm.
He's only ever told me I'm beautiful. He's only ever told me I'm smart and I'm hilarious, and he's only ever been my biggest cheerleader.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
hold out for that, Shiori. Hold out
Oh,
for that.
thank you. Thank you so much. That's so helpful. And I'm so happy to see you happy. And of course you are all of the above. Like you're incredibly smart and again, as I said in the beginning, so determined. Yeah, you've been always so hardworking and of course you're so beautiful inside and out and of course also super funny as this professional comedian. I think that's wonderful. So,
Thank you.
yeah. Um I think that covered all my questions that I wanted to ask, but is there anything you'd like to add?
I don't think so. I really appreciate you reaching out, and I hope I wasn't too chaotic all over the place. And I hope this is helpful for someone. Yeah, and if folks just want to find me, if this resonates with someone, especially if someone's like unenrolled or disenrolled or native, but they were adopted, so
Hmm.
they never got to connect with their tribe, like they should just reach out to me, and I'll be here to listen because it's tough.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, thank you so much. I'm sure that your story will resonate with so many people, both people who are Indigenous and those who are not also, because there's so many people thinking about career transitions and romantic relationships and whatnot. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Well, I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.